All right. Looks like that's good. Nope. I gotta wipe my hands off. All right. Go. Oh, we're in there. So, said that I was gonna get this stream up last weekend. Unfortunately, a whole bunch of phone calls run around, so that didn't happen. So here we are. This is essentially a stream based on a poll that I placed on the channel regarding what traps that people don't use very often people would like to see. So ultimately, I'm going to thank everybody that's here right now first, and I'm going to go ahead and build a deck based around the Temple Gong and the Coin Forge today. Also, I received my literal last trap necessary to tier 7 everything in the game. So we're going to go ahead and dump the skulls into that to tier 7 it now. Boom, tripwire. Let me get a couple gibs back. That's there we go. I said over to another trap. That was weird. Either way, max level tripwire, which is nice. Max level everything, which is even better. Little loadouts. Gonna get rid of shoot sickles. That was last Orcs Must Die streams loadout of the day. This one is going to be Temple Forge. Alright, let's go with... I don't know who I'm going to be playing through this with, so I'm going to put some generic stuff right now. Probably that and the Mage Close Defense. Favorite Guardians, Stable Hand. And then the traps of the day are both limited use. Those towards the back. We're going to have the Temple Gong and going for it. Let's see, the good stuff. We're gonna go with Feeling Fierce, a lot of range. Or maybe, I'm not sure, but that's easy to swap out. All building PhD. If I click it and unclick it. Physical traps and fire traps, because that's what I use the most. We can swap those out based on whatever we as things go on. Okay. Star is probably going to be one of the most used things. Traps that actually fire from walls or that are ceilings are going to be our best friend here, because we're going to have limited space trying to place Temple Gong coin forges around the map. So with VGH Ballista, regular Ballista, which I'm going to reconfigure in a bit. Wall traps, grinder, and either an arrow wall or a Spitfire would probably be pretty good here. And depending on the map, we can drop the Ballista for something like this too. But that's going to be the base. Okay, so first let's look at the Gong. If you guys aren't familiar with the Gong has a AoE slow that triggers when enemies walk under it. Has an extremely long refire time though. Pulls down faster when used by Elin, which is great. Mostly what you pay for when you level up the trap is to decrease the cost. You only get about 2 of these. So not that big a deal how much it costs so much, but having the cost reduce allows you to place it relatively early, and it can be comboed into really easily. So that's nice. Also, the area that it slows enemies in is huge, so something to consider. All right, what we will want to under here right now, I'll leave the XP siphon in there. Grab a charging spring, it allows it to fire 20% faster, and a kinetic reclaimer. I generally use this on traps that I want to refire repeatedly. Anything that causes a knockback, knock up, or any sort of physics will have a chance to reset the trap, allowing it to trigger again immediately. This trap triggers so slowly that kinetic reclaimer, or in the case that you're using a fire character, the heat activated trigger, probably the best choices there. Right. We have here also using the coin forge. The coin forge is another trap that is essentially just fields. Actually, literally just fields. You can put whatever kind of fields you want on this trap. Bounty generators stack to a max of 20%. If you have multiple bounty generators on it, you can get enemies to cost quite a bit of coin and drop quite a bit of coin, as well as them dying on the coin forge, increasing the coin even more. So triple bounty generator is nice if you are going hard for economy, but you can also do things like put triple XP siphons on, which will cause your character to level up insanely fast. If you are going for some sort of quick leveling smolder, which is probably the best way to play smolder, you can do some really interesting things with this, tard traps and her naphtha sprayers. Wow, monitor came in that fast. That's great. But yeah, I think for now we're gonna go hard economy just so we can actually maximize what this trap can do. An additional coin for Dobbin. The one issue, like, they could have included this here. Enemies are worth 64% additional coin here, so that people could actually see the stat. Like, it gets kind of blurred in the text here, but that's more of an issue with, you know, having issues with stat cards on traps in general. There have been a lot of complaints about that way back since basically the game was in beta, but they never got around to fixing those, unfortunately. Okay. I guess the best thing to do would be to find a few maps where we could show these off. The baths is probably a pretty easy place to go through. I don't know if these would work too well on endless with just a single player. So give the baths as an example and see what we can do as far as coin. I know that the highest amount of coin that I've been able to generate on this map personally has been somewhere around 50,000, I think, on a non-endless map. It's largely, wait, 50,000? Probably somewhere around there. I've reached the trap cap. And that's using a couple of traps that, a couple of items that actually increase. Let's see what we can make using just the coin forge here, and then maybe we'll compare it to what we can make without using the coin forge. There's not going to be a lot of space to actually the temple gong, or we can go to the restricted section. Let's start with the baths. We're gonna have some issues placing a 3x1 trap anyway, so let's focus on the coin forge first, and then to the temple gong.
Okay, who's in charge around here? Howdy, y'all. Reach the rift.
So I did that thing again where I didn't bring barricades, but we can do it here.
Beware, intruder.
Hello, Bianca. Thanks for the follow.
This should cause a ruckus. I protest. This should be fun.
The thing about the Coin Forge and the Temple Gong is that they're just so cheap that they can be used almost without any issue. And
Traps,
you can just kind of place whatever else you need around. Still didn't go back and look at the cost, the parts that are in my ceiling ballista, which I need to do. I'll probably do it after this.
They will not pass.
The enemy has opened a minion portal.
No trespassing.
They've broken through a gate.
Put up some Storm Devils. So I should probably have a really ridiculous amount of coin by the time any of this is actually done, just due to just how ridiculous Dobbin's coin generation is, in addition to everything else. Right.
They will not pass. Nifty. Nifty. You will pay for this. Nothing goes over my head. Nifty. I'm just thinking Tony.
Good old elbow drop. Alright, so just to make sure the bags don't overtake everything, I'm going to take Iron Shovel, deal extra damage to the minions. Also stacks with all of his other damage dealing abilities, which is really nice.
I quit my post only when properly relieved.
I kind of wish that you could actually play some stuff up there, like meaningfully, that is.
The rift is opening. Destroy it.
Oh, this one's not a dud.
We have destroyed the unstable rift.
Dobbin is really good at damaging large groups with his grenade too, which is great. Or not grenade, it's dynamite, but same idea. Oh crap, I completely missed that. Too busy trying to mute my mic and eat off stream. A couple of things that are really bad with Dobbin are trying to come back here and deal with any of these that spawn, so
Nothing goes over my head.
that prevents me from having to worry about that.
The rift will be protected. Take that! Get going! Boom! You will pay for this.
Let's increase the slow from Dust Devils.
On a scale of 1 to ow, this is ow.
Really only have to worry about the little guys here. Big ones can't do anything to you. You just have...
Only when properly relieved.
Well, that was inappropriate. Just exploding all in my face like that.
The rift will be protected. Who disturbs my wall? Have a flash in your pants!
While this doesn't actually have as big an impact on Dobbin's economy just due to his unique ability to generate bags of money, for other characters it is pretty big. I mean, because you basically get to double the economy of every enemy that dies over these.
No trespassing.
It's a really hard run. What do we got coming up? Diamond armor? No. Wonder if that's a Minecraft reference. Gold Rush is probably the worst choice. It serves its best purpose when you're playing in multiplayer because you get all of the coin yourself, but you really don't want to dominate traps unless like you and your team have that sort of coordinated already. Extra powder's okay. I don't like most of Dobbin's tier 3 upgrades. I think it probably could have put a bit more thought into diversifying what you wanted there.
Unstable.
The enemy's boss is dead.
Destroy it.
But they rolled them into support really hard.
Well done. Unstable rift has been destroyed.
So once upon a time, before they decided to actually nerf the Temple Gong, it had the Mesmerize effect, which most people aren't familiar with, is the effect that Gabriella's devious lore puts on enemies. It doesn't do that anymore, but because of the unique way that the effect was set up, it would stun Earth Elementals, which would have made the Temple Gong probably one of the most exclusively used traps whenever Earth Elementals were really prominent on a map, but they decided to take that out. They felt it was too strong. Or a bug. Either way, you know, not working as intended, please remove from game that idea.
This should cause a ruckus. This should be fun. One for you and you. I'd melt down this Hold my shovel with it.
Right, and probably my favorite tier of upgrades, tier 4. Jury rigged I really don't think is worthwhile here. You get a ton of HP regeneration, but there's plenty of other ways to get your health back over time. Shrapnel Storm is probably my favorite, and Kick 'em in the knees is really good if you need to take down heavy enemies on Endless or something similar.
Get to it and destroy it.
Dynamite!
And our heroes destroyed the unstable rift, and there was much rejoicing.
When you have a stream of large enemies, you're pretty much invulnerable.
Just there, yep. I protect. None Get each other! Oh no, never mind. Better another way. Lickety split! Go, local.
I'm really looking to see just how high my coin total is at the end of this map. Right now we're at about 40 grand and we got 2 waves to go.
I guard the roof. Gotta love dirt. Leave this place.
An unstable rift is opening. It must be destroyed.
Will protect.
Well done. The unstable rift has been destroyed.
Let's rumble. Final wave.
I protect.
So yeah, it's what I expected. I probably will be looking at somewhere close to 60,000 coins from using this. And I didn't even properly set it up right. I should have used the slows in front of the area here.
The boss minion has been taken down.
No trespass. I quit my post only when properly released. Get her one.
Weapon in the plan to beat the game with only spikes and cades. That's pretty much what I did when I started it. But this is a stream that's basically dedicated to the results of the poll that I put up, where we voted on what underused traps people wanted to see the value in. So right now we're looking at what? Somewhere around 60,000 coin. No, 80,000. So that's using Dobbin with his coin bags. Let's see what this looks like without using Dobbin. Dobbin adds an additional 10% to the coin drops from the coin forge. But that means Dobbin using the coin forge can literally more than double the coin value that you get from killing enemies over it. And especially for groups that might be doing chaos trials, early coin gains are probably one of the most important things in the game, especially since the way chaos trials essentially try to game you is by making the enemies tankier than they normally would be at early levels. Eventually, you can kind of try to scale up to where they are just by gaining battle experience for your battle level to go up, and also just accumulating the coin that they would normally drop while you're playing the stage. But those first like 3 or 4 waves that you get into in the Chaos Trial, especially on late tier keys, are normally what cause people issues. Let's see, somebody that's good at hugging a gate, killing a lot of things, but not so much coin. You can go with Elin, Oziel, not Ivy. Ivy's a very different playstyle. You pick Ivy when you're basically going to spam damage traps and you want them to get full effect. I was just wondering if you're still going to make a stream about that sometimes, because it really interested me back when you said it. You know what? I will throw that in the next poll after we are done this, like to see if we can do, like how far into Rift Lord we can do traps and or barricade and spike only, and see how well we do with it. I think there's some ways to get it to work pretty well, but that's going up next. Hogarth might actually be good for this. Or we can do Blood Spike. Just go with the other dwarf. I think that's the right way to do it. Okay. So she has 0 synergy with Coin Forge, but she's really good at dealing damage and standing in a single spot. So I think this will work. Let's drop the grinder just for this map, and add something that can actually deal damage while they're on the coin. Or Scorcher. I think for the most part that should be good here.
Guess it was time to call in the big guns!
Grass reminds me of all the little kids that I usually see going to school with like backpacks that weigh as much as they do. It's like you got like a 60-pound kid with a 70-pound backpack. It's the scariest thing in life.
Each trap to be placed perfectly.
No cost.
They come right through here.
Place both of those, or do we want to?
Another over here.
No, these are going to be more important.
Maybe one over here.
Okay, Brass's shotgun also does a bit of knockup. So anything that has kinetic reclaimers are going to have a chance to be reset when she shoots them, which is really good. I think I may have some kinetic reclaimers in these. I have to double check, but I usually keep those in there. Either those or heat activated, but I'm not sure which one right now. Drop Stable Buddy off. Next on him, Stable Hand. Guardian Ever.
The
Enemy
rift
has
will be
opened a minion
protected.
portal.
Okay, we should actually put down 2D McTurret Man.
Put this scrap to use! It's not like scrap is hard to find, though.
So Brass is probably one of the most busted characters, with her turret being able to shoot through the purple haze that normally blocks enemies off, having the ability to be completely ignored by large enemies, just like Dobbin. And that's before we even start talking about the fact that she can just spam her brass bombs like nobody's business. Oh, we're maxed. Yep, they're not going anywhere. Hey. So here's the thing. Mrs. Boom sounds really good for an upgrade. But 50% more bombs sounds way better.
This'll make me stronger.
See, I'm messing up a bit now. And I realize this because I'm not killing everything. I'm killing things too fast. That might still be too much.
Another genius setup. An unstable rift is opening. Quick, destroy it.
Unstable rifts actually are much easier to take out with Brass than Dobbin. Like, sillily so.
Destroy the
Sillily?
unstable rift.
There we go. That should be about the right ring.
I guard the rift. Beware, intruder.
The next upgrade. Cannonball shot stun. 1 second stun used to be okay, but I think Scrap Boom being moved to this tier completely invalidated its usefulness. Ooh. Okay, we're gonna back off. Grab Scrap Boom. Leave my turret alone. Maybe this would be better up here. These are just dying too hard.
Some of my best work.
Not today.
Thinking low hit points is not good.
I quit my post only when properly relieved.
Right there. This'll be useful. Wait till they come through here. The right setup for the most combos. Another genius setup. Not a problem.
They will not reach the rift.
That'll fix ya.
And there we go.
They will not pass.
Right there. Exactly. Each trap to be placed. Maybe one over here. Another over here. This will be useful.
Belong here. No trespass. Keep going. I guard the rear.
Weird. Like, why can't I place them here, but I can't place them up here?
A boss is on its way.
All right. So again, of the way that I view most of Brass's scrap uses in reference to brass bombs. And usually that's the comparison that they give you in most cases, where you could just have like general scrap gain versus scrap gain specifically for the brass bombs. And here they're saying you can pick up more scrap per pickup, or you can get double the brass bombs. Half cost is double bombs. And so they would need to be double pickups to even compare. They do double the cost of the pickups, right? But half cost means you also have double the capacity of bombs, which pickups do not necessarily also give you the option of doing. So you actually get more mileage if you take the 50% more scrap and then half as much bomb cost. So now I've got 30 bombs. Or a max of 30 bomb. Wrench to the kneecaps. Gets him every time. This is 2 seconds off the cannonball. This one's probably not really needed. This one's pretty bad. I'm gonna go with the cannonball.
A little bit helps. An unstable rift is opening. It must be destroyed.
They will not pass. Do not belong here. No trespassing. None will pass.
An unstable rift is opening. Destroy it.
Belong here. Only properly released.
Well done. The unstable rift has been destroyed. Just a simple adjustment.
They will not reach the rear.
Final wave.
Alright, now I know I've placed a few more
The
ballista
boss minion has entered
around,
the
so
battlefield.
the numbers for the coin won't look the same. But after this wave, we can see what the actual total coin gained was, and see what we're looking at.
Our trap is beat disabled.
Oop.
No trespassing.
Yeah, Unchained brass is still a
Get
beast.
paid and scrap when I win.
The rift will be protected.
Alright, so the difference between having just brass using the coin forge and Dobbin using the coin forge, granted Dobbin still had a bunch of drops coming from his innate character abilities, the coin bags, was about 30, well no, it's about 20,000 coin, which is a significant amount considering Bats is one of the least coin generating stages in the game. This is without any sort of heavy combos. This is just basically base coin drop. And that's pretty ridiculous on its own. Now, we can go through this one more time and see what the amount looks like without any sort of coin bonuses, and see what you actually stand to gain if you have no coin forge. And then we can start talking about some other shenanigans you can do with the coin forge, like oh, we can just get into it. First, open up this Orca side. Good for clearing this quick without really worrying about. Give me.
For thousands of years, I have waited for this fight. Your attacks are useless.
I kind of wish that you could actually change the color that she transforms into with some of the skin dyes, but whatevs.
Howdy, y'all.
I consider every trap carefully.
No
Traps
trespassing.
are a great technological advancement. After much meditation, this placement fits my strategy.
Beware, intruder.
Enemy has opened a minion portal.
Really shouldn't benefit me much by getting any combos, so we can see what the base coin actually looks like here. We're looking at about 60,000 with brass, 80,000 with Dobbin.
They've broken through a gate!
That was a good kill. Though my sword still wish to sing the song of death.
And I doubt I'm gonna have more than like 1,000 or so in picked up coins. Oop.
I will fight for the Cloud Tiger Empire.
All right, more healing. With Healing Moon is probably always the way to go there.
I guard the rear. Who disturbs
Will not escape my sword.
Get a couple of these up.
I consider every trap carefully.
They will not pass.
Unstable rift is opening. Quick, destroy it. Well done. The unstable rift has been destroyed.
I think it's odd that you only hear, or you only get the text message that the Unstable Rift is opening, like after the rift has actually appeared.
They will not pass.
Must do what is right for my people.
Yep, got a combo there. That was unfortunate.
I give me heroes. I need healing.
They will not.
You can actually get to the rift and back before the buff wears off.
You do not belong here. You will pay for this. They will not reach the reef.
Traps are a great technological advancement. I have a plan in mind. I consider every trap carefully. I have a plan in mind. This trap will kill many minions. me! I am once again the Jade Sentinel! You cannot withstand the martial art of the Cloud Tiger Empire! My health is low. You will not best me! I am Chandra's champion! My flesh is stone, but my heart is rage and fire!
Our boss is on his way!
I don't actually need to do anything now. The spike traps can probably take care of the rest of this map on their own.
Watch out! An unstable rift is opening.
Boss
Get to it
defeated!
and destroy it. We have destroyed the unstable rift.
Oh, except for these guys.
They will not. You do not belong here. Get gone. They will not pass. Be wary.
I am strength. I am grace. I am stone!
Just trying to eliminate the possibility for any extra combos.
Discipline. That is what leads to power. This will greatly improve my skill.
They will not pass.
An unstable rift is opening. Destroy it. And our heroes destroyed the unstable rift. And there was much rejoicing.
Disturbs my watch. I guard the rift. Be wary.
Chonga's Jade Sentinel is here!
Belong here.
An unstable rift is opening. It must be destroyed.
The rift will be
Destroy the
protected.
unstable rift.
No trespassing.
Final wave They've summoned a boss minion.
Already looks like we don't have nearly the amount of coin that we did with the other two characters. Hey, what's going on, Hardsoft?
The boss minion is down.
Generally, I actually enjoy playing Orcs Must Die Unchained, and a lot of people ask me questions and to demonstrate different things, so I keep coming back to it for the community. I mean, for the most part, I've completed just about every challenge that the game has, other than just the trophies, which I don't really care about. Alright, so here's the coin total without the coin forge. We're looking at about 46,000. And that's still with a few combos. The largest combo I did was 4. There shouldn't be too many of those though. For combos 69. So that score isn't inflated too much by combos, but you can see that you get almost double the coin getting enemies killed on top of the coin forge with Dobbin versus, you know, just using another character, which gets you reasonably about another 50%. And that's assuming a couple of things, because I wasn't killing everything on top of the coin forge. But 50% bonus coin is better than pretty much any of the actually it's pretty much better. It's better than every other coin boosting item in the game. Like, you can't get that much bonus coin from any of the combo traits or any of the bonus coin traits, and because combos themselves would stack with the coin forge, if you can get a combo to end on top of the forge, it gets you a ton of money. Now keep in mind, we also had a bounty multiplier on top of the coin forge, but that's not really disallowed. But you can see where the coin forge will come into a really big like economy game, especially in the early part of trying to generate some coin. This trigger on this. Triggers I think were bugged here. But I'll put a kinetic on it regardless. Get the short spring off. I need more controlled resonators. I'll take an Unchained for now. Premium. Grabs it all. Go for some parts. Could actually use that double spring. I guess we'll go back and purchase another 5 box. Yeah, I got a ton of Gibbs Des. I mean, at first I was like, I should probably save them so I can buy keys. And then I got keys, and I'm like, I will never ever need to buy keys in this game. That's because keys. 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 I have some Chaos Trial keys. Oh, heat activated. I could really use that. Another Unchained. Good. Another heat activated. Wow. That's one of the rarest triggers in the game. Don't need another short spring. Yeah, keys for days indeed. Okay, so I got none of the resonators I needed, but two rare triggers. I'm okay with this. Disappointed in some ways, happy in others. That's loot boxes, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so I guess this will probably stay Unchained for now. Grab a double spring, put it on there. Fire faster. Wait, no, this is okay with that. Also Unchained. Kinetic. Have a control. Springs on those is entirely more. They're really not going to fire that often. Disappointed for me, Frosty. Put an Unchained on here too. Okay, now. Dude. Alright, double spring on these is actually kind of warranted. Extra starting cash. That's my setup there. That's not going to change at all. Gong, I should have a kinetic, charging, Tiffin. And I think that's all I really want to change for now. So we've seen that essentially you can get a ton of coin from the coin forge. Let's take a look at what we can actually do. Hey, what's going on, Antonio? Take a look at what sort of shenanigans we can pull off with the temple Gong. Oh, I have plenty of stamped parts already. Stamped is fine. And there we go. Yeah. Plenty of stamped parts. There's a good amount of subsidized parts in there. E-siphons, short spring. The only parts that are kind of like rare and wanted are controlled resonators, double springs, charging spring. Like the holy grail of rare parts in this game are going to be controlled resonator, double spring, charging spring, self-improving coil. Then where are some people want combo generators? I really don't find them that useful. just because they're so strictly controlled as far as what states the enemy have to be in. I can't even find them in this list right now, but what I was going to say is the kinetic reclaimer and the heat activated trigger. These are probably the two best triggers. This has been one of the best triggers since it was introduced in the game. It was eventually nerfed, and this was its competition, which originally was much better and then was nerfed because, again, it was one of the two best triggers in the game. There was reports originally of people being able to trigger a trap off of a kinetic reclaimer 6 times before the trap actually reached its normal cooldown in the past. That's why the 10% chance was made instead of just it triggering whenever a physics effect happened in front of it. But either way, still good. So a good place to show off the Temple Gong. Be someplace that has a lot of ceiling, or someplace that you can make narrow corridors in. Banquet Hall is actually one of them. So let's take ranged hero to the Banquet Hall. Not enough love for the Wicked Warden skin. I like all of Ivy's skins. Okay, we don't want the grinder here. Are going to take the floor scorcher though. And for the most part, I think everything else is okay. Antonio, I usually try not to use Unchained, primarily because a lot of people that watch my channel are not on the same level as me. And so it feels almost like I'm misrepresenting how easy the game is if I use Unchained as often as I can. Unchained can be built up easily by just generating combos. So if you have the right set of traps or just a decent setup and usage of your character abilities, you can fill up the Unchained meter 3 or 4 times in a single survival map. But yeah, just don't use it that often. If I used it as often as you possibly could, then like things would be super easy. Oh, I can't do this map this way. You do need barricades here. So let's go back in. I don't think I've seen this dye on this particular skin before. Let's see what it looks like. This will work, except... Hey, what's going on, Dova? I am doing alright. Trying to secretly eat while on stream. So, if you see the mouse stop or me stop talking for a significant period of time, that's probably what's happening. Now everybody knows my secret. The list is not so great on this map, but Swing Maces are. We're gonna forgo some of the positions that we could put the Swing Mace in, however, for the Temple Gong. Could go for the reg now. Let's just go with the double. Easier that way. Not really easier. I think it's a little bit cheaper. No, not really. Okay, whatever. We're using it anyway. Let's go.
I'll try to keep you all alive. A useful device. There, I think. This should work. There, I think.
Howdy, y'all.
Okay. Okay, so I'm placing it. Game's bugging out and selling my trap literally the instant I was placing it. That was weird. That's the first time I've actually seen that happen.
I quit my post only when properly relieved.
Okay, so hopefully they will think and not actually go the entire way around there. Go through here. We'll see. This is ideally where we want them to go right now. We'll get a chance to move all of this, so I could just close this for now.
It will do.
But we're gonna have to block that off anyway. Oh, these colors don't look too bad on the skin at all. Although, I guess this makes Ivy look kind of like a dark elf. That's silly of me. I have this placed already. How did I miss that? Okay, now we can go ahead and set this up.
A useful device. A useful device. It will
4.
do. A useful device.
And just for sheer principle, block that.
Our enemies, they're breaking through again!
No trespassing.
It will do. There, I think.
They've broken through a gate!
Of course they have.
Let's rumble!
I quit my post only when properly relieved.
I didn't see anything go past me. I'm guessing, did I glitch something over the barricade setup that I have down there? Or am I blind? I could be blind.
Nothing will get past this.
I protest.
Our barricades are under attack!
Air needle.
Who disturbs my watch? Trespasser!
So here we get to keep pretty much everything super slowed here. And primarily being able to group enemies into super tiny spots like this is great for the Temple Gong because it covers such a large area. You're actually going to get pretty much guaranteed to hit everything that's in here. If I had another ceiling trap like a regular ballista, I could actually place it along the side here. Just in case though. Gonna do that. Another one of these.
An unstable rift is opening. It must be destroyed.
And do that. Actually gonna let the Guardian handle these guys.
Destroyed the unstable rift.
And that one snare, as well as the swinging mace, basically let the Guardian handle those guys without issue. Throw him, and then I'm pretty much free to go. It should be noted that I could have jumped back and cast roots to not take as much damage as I did there. I did that in the wrong order, and that almost got me killed. Entirely my fault. It could have been played better.
Our barricades are under attack. They've destroyed our barricades.
Rude, but effective.
The Temple Gong also makes this setup really, really inexpensive. Like, you could make this better. If I wasn't using the swinging mace, I could bring, these guys get really slow.
Our barricades are under attack.
Let's just keep you there. If I wasn't using the swinging mace, I could bring, Spitfire and put that along the back wall with, the Floor Scorcher that I have back there. And it would essentially be burning 100% of everything forever.
They've destroyed our barricades.
Only thing here is the Guardian is pretty much drawing fire from archers, which is what's blowing up the barricades.
Our barricades are under attack.
Those guys can't actually go anywhere. They have to pass back through here. However,
Out of the way, please.
you can just
Boss
die.
minion defeated.
Thank you.
Or wait, do they have hearts?
Now, anytime you can get a good line set up, if you don't want to play risky with Reach of Roots, even though you can get a ton of damage off of that ability, you can go for the increased cooldown on Penetrating Arrow, which is really nice. Penetrating Arrow normally has 4-second cooldown. This makes it 3.
Our barricades are under attack.
Still going to be a bit risky because of how much mana you're going to wind up spending here. But it is really easy to keep a good group knocked back just doing this.
Will be protected.
But yeah, this really actually isn't needed if you're not using it for damage over here. What we could do though,
They will not reach
Curse ground damages enemies as long as they're on the trap, so with Gong cursed grounds will be really good. Yeah, you can actually set up a cursed ground right after a tar trap with the Gong and get some really ridiculous damage off of it.
And our heroes destroyed the unstable rift, and there was much rejoicing.
Now this is going to be the only problem here. This guy. Well, at least he's bugged. And the... Are there any really bad traps? Really bad? No, I don't really think so. There's traps that are hard to use, but there's none that are actually bad. And I meant to change this, but oh well.
They will not pass.
Guess I'll just put this one over here.
It will do.
Like, there are some really interesting ways that you can use just about every trap in the game, either to save coin or to just get like some really nice damage setups pulled off.
Leave this place. Who disturbs my watch?
And Reach of Roots deals damage, might as well.
Yes, I think that will work.
Like, the only thing that really makes most traps difficult, per se, is people not knowing how pathing works. As long as you can control for pathing, almost every trap can be made particularly useful. Because pathing is really the key to any tower defense game, like just knowing where to place things and where they are at their most useful. Let's get you right there, and then we'll just arrow you to the face until you die. One more mercenary. I really like the overload trap, but I don't know how to use it efficiently. Oh man, oh crap. These should all be leapers, so they should cost no rift points. Yeah, okay. Just making sure I didn't magically like physics somebody into my rift again, because sometimes that happens. That's one of the issues with this game, is the way that it tracks enemy positioning. I couldn't sell it fast enough. If you position enemies in such a way that you can see them, sometimes they may stand up in a different place because the server doesn't necessarily see things the way that you do. So physics traps can have very unpredictable tendencies with the way that enemies move around. And that's probably, it's not a problem with the idea behind the traps itself so much as it is the coding that manages where enemies are server side.
I might actually die.
They're just going to wreck my Guardian's face off with those explosives. So I would say one of the things that I don't like about this particular iteration of Orcs is just that because of it being always online and the devs having to newly code for something like that existing, the game doesn't really handle physics well. Most of the crashes and the slowdown that the game experiences is actually because of like physics effects.
Get ready for the final wave.
I mean, you can make some busted physics setups, but
A boss is on its way.
just because they're problematic, they're really not recommended. And that guy's booped.
They've destroyed our barricades.
And that's why you leave yourself space to make another.
One of our guardians has fallen.
And he's gonna die.
The boss minion is down.
I might even actually par this.
Who's still alive?
So Antonio, there are a couple of things you can do to improve the ways that you use the overload trap. It is personally one of my favorite traps, and I kind of always just like the way it functioned in game, although its disabling of other traps always did make it kind of a thorn in the side of a lot of players. However, due to a lot of the feedback that was given, one of the last changes that the devs made to the trap was that it no longer disables support traps. Support traps are basically traps that don't deal damage. So any trap that is not dealing damage will not be disabled, even if it is a floor trap. That actually opened up a few other options for the use of that trap with support traps, one of which I'm using now. Actually three, but two of them are on the ground. So if we go back into the banquet hall, we can try one of my other setups that I like even a bit more than the one that I just used. We can go in here with Ivy. Let's go with the Wuxing Azure Mage. Or Ruby Archer, there we go. Azura's Assassin. But if we were to, now would be a good time. We'd actually take that. Let's drop the Ceiling Ballista, keep the PH. We're going to take that. The Overload. I guess we could take... We don't want to take a floor. What else would we like to... Spike walls probably only best for endless. You take a wall charger. Is there any other ground support trap? Guess we could just take a regular ballista. Do it that way. All of these are physical. No longer need fire. Let's take Buzzkill or level up sooner. Much levels here. Cash? And making it rain or big spender. Let's go with making it rain. Still missing a part out of that. What is it? Spring. don't want a short spring. If anything, I'd want a double. Big resonator. Rolled. Subsidized parts is good. Anything I can pull a doubled out. Okay, overload trap. Double spring. Alright, so we're going legendary die ruby archer. Fire. Making it rain. Healing ballista. Overload trap. Don't need this. Firewall bracers, and we're good. Now, what I was trying to say before is that
It may hurt a lot, but then it'll get better.
overload trap covers a decent amount of distance, and normally, like, you might feel like you're missing out on your ability to did it again. We're not going to use the Gong on this particular build because this one is just for the coin forge. Sorry, I had to cough there for a second. But I did plan on showing this one off for the stream specifically. So, legendary die ruby archer, no. Making it rain, drop temple, great wall barricade, yes, no, boom. Was supposed to be. There we go. That's pretty much the setup. Bring that, a little bit of extra mana. Now we're good. Okay. So the goal here was to show people that like while the coin forge takes up a lot of ground room, we already see that like killing enemies on top of the coin forge and up to double the amount of coin that you're able to make map. Pretty significant, I think.
It will do.
Off now. This
should work. There, I think.
Okay, we don't want to go this way at all, so lock this off for now.
Rude, but effective.
Now we have this area to work. But these can just get in the way, so recommend dropping the chandeliers. Here. There we go. That's how we start anyway. We'll kind of move things around once we get the opportunity. We can back this up a little bit, try to get this right square in the center. That damage. Enemies will have a little bit of time before the explosions trigger. Eventually we'll probably put some slows in front of it.
The enemy has opened a minion portal.
But it used to be that the coin forge would get disabled. fast enemies are probably the worst example here, but
One arrow, two arrow, three arrow. I can keep going.
oh. Alright, as long as the fast guys get burnt, we're good. Gonna slow them down. Okay. We're gonna have to do what we did before.
Nothing will get past this. Rude, but effective. This should work.
Of course, it's enemies to go this way. We're going to block off place down here.
There, I think.
This can still get enemies to try to pass down here sometimes. Be aware of that, and then they're all going to start trying to come.
A useful device.
This is your first time seeing Overload? I deeply apologize for me not spamming this trap quite as much as I could have been in. Anyway, there. Corner.
The enemy army is attacking on another front!
Probably should have moved that over a little.
They've broken through a gate!
Yeah. This isn't the best setup for it yet because we don't have enough coin to get all of the overloads out. But eventually we'll have overloads, slows, and grinders happening. That's a lot of dead orcs. Nope, 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 nope. Okay. Most part we're good now. And put the fifth one in. Alright, and now we should be able to begin the fun stuff.
It will do.
Our barricades are under attack!
Not exactly where I want to be right now.
Remember, Ivy, aim first, then fire.
Okay, so take this, and essentially what we're going to do is we're going to start building backward. And the spaces that we can't fill up with other things,
An unstable rift is opening. Get
why,
to
thank
it
you.
and destroy it.
Can't rain on this parade.
And our heroes destroyed the unstable rift, and there was much rejoicing.
Okay, then we can stick a BG ballista here and here.
It will do. There, I think. It will do. A useful device. I have clearly been underestimated.
And there's room for another ground trap here, but I don't have another support ground trap. You could also use, with something like this, steam vents. Steam vents deal no damage, but they will fling light enemies up into the air and slow large ones. And you'll get a really good, like, wall ceiling setup just using steam vents and, oh. They gotta go. Before I lose any more barricades. Okay, this can go. There's going to be a big issue with this setup, and it's primarily that I don't have a lot of damage to kill things automatically when they're on top of things like this. Set this one up over here, and then do some of these.
Unstable rift is opening.
Probably nothing was near me. Okay.
Barricades are under attack.
So I didn't set up the extra barricade over here, which means Orphan may actually wreck this one barricade over here. Not that big of a deal. Okay, it is a big deal when everybody's already running into the rift.
Enemies at the rift. The rift has been compromised.
Whoa. That's my fault for playing this wrong. So rather than elongating that line of things as long as I have it now, what you're supposed to do to not have to run for bosses and things like that is, one, I was supposed to have dropped that barricade that blocked the door back here a lot sooner. Actually, there's a good chance of me losing this now.
Our barricades are under attack.
Okay, maybe not. Can do this. And by the time I get down here, block off this side. Alright, now I can fix this. Because I didn't do things right in the first place. There we go. Alright, I don't have to worry about blocking that anymore. That barricade was essentially just to make sure that Orphan lost a lot of his life and I had time to kill him. Also didn't do that. But now we're good. We have most of the coin that we would have made anyway.
An unstable rift is opening. It must be destroyed.
I'm blooming like a flower.
Well done. The unstable rift has been destroyed.
The rift will be protected.
Alright, the only thing that we really want back here is one more of these, and then this entire last area can really just be reserved for a ballista. nest, so to speak.
Rude, but effective.
You can also place a few back here. But grinders will do most of the work for things over here. The issue that I had before was basically just me not building things out of order. You build things in the wrong order, you ultimately just cause yourself problems. There should be some leapers that just jumped over, probably knoll hunters. They'll go right for my guardian.
Out of the way, please.
Well, at least they did fix the bug with the grinders.
A good skill
Gonna do
to know.
Warden's Wrath. There used to be a bug with the grinders where the grinders would continuously spit out gibs for orcs every time they reset, and if they hit anything else afterwards, they would spit out more gibs when they reset, and it would get to the point where the grinders would only be spitting out gibs while they reset, and there would be so many gibs that they just would crash the game. So people had to avoid actually using grinders even in situations where they were really good. And the grinders are really situationally great trap. They can be good in some situations and amazing in others. But because it's charge based, it's one of the best ways to deal with runners. Like tiny earth elementals and other things. Hate this boss so much. That mercenary is probably the buggiest one in the game, besides the actual buggy bear. Like, his abilities last longer than they're supposed to, they reduce damage significantly, and they can basically turn enemies that would, in some cases, be able to be one-shot into bosses. Like, it's really silly.
Arrow incoming.
He was just made to make sure that that game ends in endless, in my opinion. Right. Yeah, other than that mistake, that'll pretty much be the map. Another thing about the this trap, the overload trap specifically, is that its range is effectively infinite. It can be the highest place it can be placed. It has more than enough range to shoot through to the floor in that room. So basically, any place that has a ceiling and a floor, it can be used on.
Our barricades are under attack.
If I don't heal up soon, I might actually die.
They've destroyed our barricades.
Quiet.
The
No, we don't
enemy's
really.
boss is down.
Most of that damage came from the BGH ballistas and the overloads. I could have actually gotten away with not touching that boss. Although this build is really only recommended for something like Endless, just because it takes a while, gives the enemies a lot of time to walk around. You can actually improve on it a bit, but overload trap.
They shall sing songs of this day.
The rift will be protected.
Oh, Trap did double the damage that I did. Okay. Probably should show off the Gong a bit more, just because most of the setups that I've had here have been... Oh, actually, there's some really good Gong and Overload setups that can be used on the Confluent. But I didn't prepare a drink for the stream, and I've been streaming for almost 2 hours. So I'm going to take a quick break. The stream's still going to be running. I'm going to put a question up, the same question that I started the stream with. And, you know, you guys can feel free to talk about it. I'll be able to see the chat when I come back, and we can discuss some of the answers before I get into some shenanigans on the Confluent. Go ahead and switch over to that now. And let me know what you guys think. I will be right back. right, sorry for the wait. So, looks like we got new characters and some new traps. New traps are a really big thing that people wanted. Although I haven't heard of decoils. Unless you mean decoy. And maybe that just came across as spelled incorrectly? Not sure on that one. Because if you did mean decoys, we have them in Orcs Must Die Unchained, though they don't work the same. And I think what I would have liked is for the exploding decoys to have remained a thing. Like I would have liked it if they exploded by default, but they don't. The trap limit is specifically an issue with Unchained because it's server side, everything's managed by servers, and because it's always online. Ultimately, that server-sidedness has left all of the trap limits in the game. So it really comes down less to how much coin you're able to make and what you can do with it, more so than just creating a setup that is strong for the trap count available per map. So I can understand that too. Like, Orcs 1 and 2 didn't really have the trap limits, so to speak. As long as you could make the coin, you could build the traps. So that's important. A story mode? No, don't worry about it, Captain Tay. I just wanted to make sure that we were talking about the same thing. Completely alright. I don't even speak a language other than English. Tried, just not good at it. But maybe that'll get fixed in the future. But yeah, I definitely think that decoys could have been made better. They had ideas that made it better originally, but they didn't seem to come through in the sort of current version of Orcs that we're left with Orcs Must Die Unchained. However, if they release another Orcs game, we'll see what they decide to do with the decoys then. Maybe they'll shake it up a bit. But yeah, lack of a story mode, I think, is probably one of the biggest things. Orcs Must Die Unchained specifically has been in flux since it was initially created. Like, it was never really a hard-lined or a very well-defined game. It started out as kind of like this. Well, they wanted a PvP game that they could throw into the Chinese market, which is probably why this game is free to play in the first place, because a lot of people in China use net cafes and tend to play a lot of free to play games, purchase things to build up an account. It's a really big market for game makers in general, and the lack of success in China for this game probably was one of the reasons it had some issues. But because it was primarily designed for PvP and then shifted really hard to PvE afterwards, it's kind of where the issues are. Because the devs were really looking, they seemed like they were scrambling for where to go with the game at the end. And I think we were left with something that has a lot of good ideas, but the execution of those ideas were not at the highest caliber that they could have been if this was the goal from the start. It's like, you can equate this to somebody that's procrastinating. I mean, the devs weren't procrastinating. They were actually working basically on like 5 different projects at once, trying to get this completed. But to put it into perspective, it's like somebody trying to rush like a project at the last minute that completely had its idea or scope changed, and this is the end result. I mean, it's a serviceable game, but we know for a fact that the devs probably could have done better had they had better direction from the beginning. And I think that multiplayer aspect that they started off with is essentially what prevented us from, getting a decent story mode or something similar to it in the game itself, because that wasn't something that they would really market towards a free-to-play community. Like, when you think about free-to-play games in general, and I mean, this is actually probably one of the biggest things that I can think of. Games that were developed without being intentionally free-to-play in the beginning have decent storytelling for the most part. There's some good examples of games that don't, like Destiny. But then games that were developed specifically to be free-to-play have some of the loosest storytelling and lore that exist. Generally because as the game develops and becomes more profitable, like, things that people want in the game tend to get added on the back burner. Like, they slowly get folded into the game to make it more and more enticing to more people. And so you'll take a game like Warframe, which had essentially no story when it started. It was just like, hey, space ninjas and crazy guns and swords. And then it turned into, you know, the space opera that it is now, with like fishing and like flying across worlds and like space battles and like running through derelict, like torn apart spaceships and like all kinds of stuff like that. Like, that wasn't something that was initially envisioned when the game started, but now that so many people have played it and the game has become profitable, that's the game that we wind up with. And unfortunately, with Orcs not really being super popular, like, we may not, I'm not gonna say we won't, because if somehow it does become popular, then maybe the development and everything on it could get picked back up. But without that, we won't really see it take place. And that's why whenever I see a free-to-play game that actually looks like the backbone of the game is decent, it's not really trying to exploit customers or anything in a really hardcore way, I'll usually get behind it. But basically, yes, I agree with you, Nathan. And a playground mode is also one of those things that would probably have been beneficial if the game had the kind of support necessary to set that up. Another tier of levels, or add levels to Endless, because I really love to play levels on Endless, and even custom keys. Actually, I would say that custom modifiers for the levels, similar to what you find in the Chaos keys, would probably be one of the most amazing things that they could have done for the game. Because ultimately people have been asking for custom difficulty and things like that forever ago. If you had the ability to basically take the modifiers that they had been building for things like Endless and make those selectable for like challenge maps, you could select the map, add in the modifiers that they had created for the game, and then build your own challenges that way. You know, maybe they would give you an additional chance at a box drop, chest, or they could give you increased skulls or something like that. Then that would have been a really great addition to the game. I agree with that 100%. That probably would have been even better than Chaos keys as they exist right now. But the Chaos keys are marketable. They can sell them in the store. That wouldn't be something that they could market. It would have had to been either a purchasable thing or just a feature that they decided to put in the game for practice. But good ideas nonetheless. Great. And it looks like that's all we got so far. As far as Endless levels, I think Endless for Unchained probably is not the design that most people would like it to be. So I think additional Endless levels in this game's format would not be that great. because essentially the only thing that really works in Unchained for Endless is percentage damage, and a lot of those percentages are capped specifically to make the Endless end. There was a bit of research and gameplay put into it originally when the game came out to figure out which attacks had the actual percentage damage done or able to be done to enemies, because ultimately the way the Endless works is every level enemies don't get damage resistance, they get more HP. Players only scale but so much. Your max battle level is 20, you don't gain damage after that. Traps are pretty much fixed as soon as you load into the game. They never gain damage except for a few player abilities or your odd trait. And so there is a maximum amount of damage that you're able to deal with any trap setup given the time. Now, there were some things that would allow you to deal more damage, like infinite crowd control, which got nerfed once the devs found out about it. And then after infinite crowd control, there was some situations with Guardians where Guardians could take off about 60% of a minion's life, or even a boss's life, provided the boss was near the Guardian when the attack took place. It's the spin attack. The spin attack had its damage capped, BGH traps had their damage capped, so all the percentage-based damage in the game had a cutoff created so that specifically in the case of Endless, they wouldn't work forever. And I think like that's basically some hidden stuff in the game's code that says that the devs are intentionally making it impossible for you to go further. And that's due to just server restrictions and other things. They didn't want games lasting like 5 or 6 hours, which you could get if you played like the other older Orcs games. But because, again, this being server-side, free-to-play limitations, and the devs basically having to make sure that they worked within those parameters, the limitations worked out into all the problems that Endless has in this iteration of Orcs. So, Endless, from the older Orcs games, would have been perfect, but that's not what we got here. And I think it's important to make the distinction for people that enjoy Endless runs, that old Endless is probably better than new Endless. And it's also one of the reasons I don't play Endless that much, because it's literally just fighting ever increasing numbers. It doesn't actually require, for the most part, other than you figuring out an early setup, anything that's interesting. Alright, so during the time that I was going on that break, I drank one of my whole drinks and made another one, and I'm already halfway through that, so I guess it's a good time to move on to some more shenanigans. Probably going to be on for about another half an hour or so before I decide to either jump over to Twitch or do some recording. So let's see what we wanted to do. I wanted to show off Influence and on the other hand, what's the point of getting to wave 500? That's the other thing. There is no point in getting to ridiculous numbers of waves in Unchained. Like, Unchained basically pays out skulls by the minute, and the longer you're in a map, it doesn't really benefit you much more than just starting another one. And Endless doesn't really have amazing rewards. Like, there's no additional drop chances for anything. Well, now there's drop chances for keys, but keys are more rewarding than Endless. And so Endless has kind of been pushed to the wayside as like this challenge or idea for the game, because again, everything around the game being free to play was built for item acquisition. And so if you aren't working towards more stuff, what's the point, right? And that's kind of where like the ideas that exist in Unchained are not really created to coalesce into something fully functional. Like, it's a lot of stuff, like ideas that were thrown together and on their own make some sense, but don't really build into like a larger, more interesting experience for the players. And that's ultimately with a free-to-play game that you want like longevity in. That's what you want. You want every little decision to make a difference in the overall long-term experience for players. Like, you want it to be able to be comfortably interchangeable with other stuff, but also allow players to play in a unique way or style that is both interesting in terms of how the game works, but also in the case here where you have teams, interactable or interchangeable with the way that people build groups to handle different challenges. And in Orcs, not really there. But multiplayer is also kind of an afterthought in Orcs Must Die, even in Unchained. The reason that like multiplayer kind of exists here is because of the PvP nature that the game was designed around. And even in Orcs Must Die 2, multiplayer isn't really that big. Like, it's fun, but like the game isn't designed around the aspect that you should have multiple people playing, or there's no important aspects of the game that change when you have more people there. Like, in some cases, Orcs actually becomes just more difficult as you add people. And I think that's detrimental to the idea of multiplayer in general. But that's a different conversation. Like, what's good or bad for multiplayer is not necessarily good or bad for single player. This, definitely don't want grinders. Actually, no. This map does amazing with grinders if you build it a certain way. But we're building specifically anti-grinderish. So, not going for Coin Forge here. We want some... I already have this. Let me move this back here. Ballista, we got the BGH, we got the Temple Alarm Gong, we have the Overload Trap. Find it. Could be somewhere in shiny and colors on it. There we go. 4 colors. Want things that work with the Overload Trap. We already have the Viscous Tar. We could use the coin. We want the... I did forget to change the screen. I'm not there yet. But, boop. Trying to put together the deck. Here we don't have that. I can use this. Alright, fine. Drop that. This. We got the BGH. Okay. I don't actually want to use Ivy, but she's locked in now because I already hit ready. So I guess we're doing this again. So I didn't mention this before, but I want to kind of try to do a YouTube stream like once every other 2 weeks. Once every other week.
Let us work together, yeah.
I'll probably stick to doing it on the weekends. I'm going to take most of the streaming over to Twitch though, just because I think me going live at different times during the weekdays basically just sends people a bunch of notifications that they're not necessarily interested in. There's not a ton of people that come out and watch my late night streams, and that's just because of like time zones and lack of interest. So I'll move that over there just to give people kind of a breather on it.
Rude, but effective.
Definitely. So here is drop this gong. We can actually move this back a bit.
Beware, intruder.
Way.
No trespassing.
Third one, I can save one for use elsewhere.
Nothing will get past this.
I protest.
So one of these for now. Put this back here.
It will do.
Okay, so put a couple of overloads in front of the gong. Gong, another overload. Hit everybody that's walking through there. We can put some wall trappy things, either arrow darts or spitfires, along the wall here, and that's ultimately what you'll be working with. Now, if you wanted to, you should be able to put like some floor scorchers, point it this way, back behind this, but I don't have floor scorchers on me right now, so we're not working with that. Ultimately, what we're going to get is a bunch of explosions. And you can see the gong basically slowing everybody behind the coin forge. And you're still going to have some issues with a couple of light enemies kind of getting through. Like, this isn't a setup that's going to 100% clear enemies for you, but it will deal a significant amount of damage to large groups. And if you can keep them slowed, you'll find that it softens up enemies really hard. If you have some other people playing with you, it becomes even better because they can augment it with some other damage traps in front of or behind your overloads on the floors or along the walls. I could still be dealing more damage myself doing something like this.
Choices.
Howdy, y'all.
Okay, so I have something slightly different to do here.
A useful device. This should work.
The rift will be protected.
Actually, with the Guardian, he pretty much cleaned up everything that the traps didn't. That's pretty good.
New and improved.
They've summoned the boss minion.
Alright, now we got scurvy. Runner that is. I hope you guys have enough vitamin C in your diet. Eat some lemons or oranges or some citrus fruit in general if you can.
Remember, Ivy, aim first, then fire.
The enemy's boss is down.
But yeah, like Overload Trap has always been really fun to use just because of setups like this. And I'm still getting a good amount of that bonus coin.
Our enemies are breaking through elsewhere.
This should work. Nothing will get past
The
this.
rift will be
They've broken through a gate.
Nothing will get past this.
No trespassing.
Whoops. They did try it. Now, if you want to be lazy, you can just let all of these guys walk around here, see the barricade, turn around, and then go get themselves killed just like everybody else. But that takes time, costs par, things like that.
Watch out! An unstable rift is opening. Get to it and destroy it. Well done. The unstable rift has been destroyed.
This should work.
None will pass. Beware, intruder. Get gone.
And one of the things that I think they'll probably allow if they make a non-PvP Orcs in the future is just Guardians will actually be able to be healed. I don't think this Guardian design will make much sense if they go back to the original Orcs formula. But like, I hope they keep some of the ideas, like Guardians having special attacks and buffs that they can offer to the player.
Beware, intruder.
We have here.
No trespassing.
Move away from our barricades. They're taking collateral damage.
Out of the way!
They will not reach the rift.
It will do.
I protect. The rift will be protected. Leave this place!
Stick with me.
You'll pay for this. Beware, intruder. Trespasser! No trespassing.
breaking through again!
Get going!
Should have regular kobolds coming from the back now. Once they break down the door.
They've broken through a gate!
Yep, whole bunch of critters. And they're the reason that grinders would actually be really good on this map. I didn't want to use
This proves it.
the Spitfires.
My true calling.
Grinders would basically be the next best thing.
Can't rain on this parade.
Who disturbs my watch?
The cycle continues.
Really not a fan of that projectile that the Cyclops shoot. We'll just let them come out the corner. That guy back there is probably a knoll. Gonna hop the...
None will pass.
And they said all I was good for was healing.
Intruder! You will pay for this. The rift will be protected. Trespasser!
Aim and air needle.
None will pass. You will pay for this. Protect.
An unstable rift is opening. Quick, destroy it. And our heroes destroyed the unstable rift. And there was much rejoicing.
Watch me go.
Who disturbs my watch? Intruder!
Normally you only get about one shot per enemy for these, but because of the Gong and the Tar, enemies get slowed down so much that sometimes they can get hit by the same overload trap twice.
I have clearly been underestimated.
Wait, what? Oh, I guess they healed them before they died? Okay, so now it actually wants to be blocked by the pillar.
No trip.
The boss minion has entered the battlefield.
Alright, that Urza should be coming from the back.
My ancestors are smiling on me.
Boss defeated!
Oh yeah, overload trap temple gong. I mean, more temple gongs allow you to do more setups similar to this someplace, but because of how slow the trap can make you, that's kind of why its number is limited. But the 20% refire that Elin gets with it is well warranted just because of that, and you can pretty much see why.
You will pay for this.
Yes, overload in the wall is actually pretty nice. I just probably wouldn't take it on endless because unless you're playing in a 3-man squad in endless, it doesn't really scale well for the rest of the map.
Boss is on his way!
Like, the limited trap placement is both a benefit and a problem because it means that you don't really have to take economy bonuses for that particular trap just because they're not really going to ever pan out. Like, nobody cares if a trap you can only place twice is 100 coin, really.
The boss minion is down!
That's not what's going to be interesting about that trap. Kind of upset with how often the Spitfire misses, though. Like, if it were me, I would have literally just make it a wall flame. Belches out like streams of fire.
I never doubted us.
Beware, intruder.
Trap did 300,000 damage. Not bad for that map. Okay, so there's really not much else to do right now. I think I've gotten across my point about like what situations the Gong and the Coin Forge are really useful in. Passive abilities of potions. Hey, what's happening, Mike? Passive abilities of potions are probably one of the interesting things that could be added. 2.5% max mana per second is better regen and pretty much. So is there anything else anybody would like to see tonight? I think I've got one more game in me for this, and then I have to prepare for streaming another game. I'll be finishing up, I think, maybe finishing my Borderlands 2 run with Omega Nitro, a buddy of mine, in Ultimate Vault Hunter mode. We're currently going through the Tiny Tina's Dragon Keep DLC, and we'll probably be doing some other stuff in there. Discount. Well, I do have Blood Spikes Daily to do, so that we can make happen. Very vague description. That's too bad. Okay. Which map do we want to see Bloodspike on today? Give me a map, any map. You can specify the difficulty if you want to. Give me one moment, just gotta grab my phone. Alright, looks like the screen protector on my phone decided to malfunction. It no longer wants to protect the screen and it just wants to fly off. That's fine. So we're doing restricted section, Rift Lord. Okay. Got the legendary die. Don't have the other skins though. But appetit. And let's make it legendary. Extra green. Oh, you want a Shark Island, Miguel? Alright, maybe we'll do two. I haven't been back to Shark Island in a while. This can work for restricted section. Don't really like the grinder too much, but we can make it work. Blood spike. Hit. Top in like that.
No fear, no mercy!
Very green butcher's outfit, I guess. Surprised that they didn't have the bread or the sausage or whatever change color. There's no reason why a butcher would have bread hanging from his waistcoat, though.
Howdy, y'all.
None at all.
They will not pass. No trespassing.
Oh, no. Don't want to do restricted section without barricades, not with a melee hero. And that's why I usually put the barricades in the deck by default. Alright, so if we're going to do this right, we would want to get rid of either the Spitfire wall or the grinder. Fire is really not necessary. Best effect out of the grinder here. Drop this, and with that, Killer Buzz. Pretty much Blood Spike's specific trait. Now we can get back in there. A French baguette is used to tenderize the meat.
I must pull my wits about me.
Yeah, I don't think I would ever want to have bread so hard that I could use it to smack meat around.
Who needs killing? I love kids. The best spot. It's all part of my plan.
Howdy, y'all. I quit my post only when properly relieved.
Their blood will flow.
Okay.
No trespassing.
Enemy has opened a minion portal.
They've broken through a gate.
I guard the rear.
Have you ever gotten hit by an old French baguette? An old one? No. And that's, if the bread was that old, I probably wouldn't want to keep it around. I am aware that baguettes can get quite hard, though. I mean, you can tell that just by like how difficult it is for most people to cut like really hard baked French baguettes, like when they have that char on the bottom of them.
They will not.
Extra crispy.
With this, more will bleed.
The unstable rift is opening. It must be destroyed.
Who disturbs my watch?
We have destroyed the unstable rift.
The rift will be protected.
You have 20 old French baguettes. You mean a 20-year-old French baguette or a 20 old French baguettes? I'm imagining. I'm imagining you got like a secret locker. You open it up and it's just like 20 loaves of French bread. Back off and a little bit of that mana back.
No
20 whole 1 year plus old French baguettes.
A boss is on its way.
So then I guess the question is, does assault with a deadly weapon come in as soon as it's out of the oven, or only after it's a year old? Piggies everywhere.
Yes. Murder takes careful planning.
Howdy, y'all.
Enemies are attacking on another front.
They will not pass.
Right there. They've broken through a gate. Bring the enemy here. Why me? Careful.
Watch out! An unstable rift is opening. Get to it and destroy it.
One of the most important things Bloodspike will always be able to do is, no matter how difficult the game is,
And our heroes destroyed
blaze
the
unstable
unstable
rifts
rift.
one hit.
And there was much rejoicing.
Beware, intruder.
I am
You do not belong here. Get gone. Who disturbed my watch? Leave this place.
the carnage. Your death will not be wasted.
You asked the baker to make spiked bread.
Trespassing.
I'm wondering if the first question he asked, or she asked, they asked, was what kind of alcohol you wanted in it.
Enemies incoming. They've broken through on another front. They've broken through a gate! Destructive! I like it!
Unstable rift is opening. Destroy it.
I don't think I can do it!
Well done. Unstable rift has been destroyed.
A good battle plan! This was murderous!
In life. The rift will be protected.
This will terrorize while it tenderizes!
You will pay for this.
A guardian has fallen! They've summoned a boss minion!
An unstable rift is opening. Quick, destroy it.
Top!
We have destroyed the unstable rift.
I will taste their tears! The enemy's boss is dead! This one is murderous! Final wave! The boss minion has entered the battlefield. The boss boss minion has been taken down. You can all thank me later.
All right, I think Antonio said Shark Island. That'll be the last one that we do for today. I'm guessing he meant Master Shark Island? Which character should we do it with, though? There's only like 2 good sealing places here. And one of them's not good for the Gong, so I think I'll drop it here. Oh, Smolder's as tanky as she needs to be. I don't have that deck right. If we're gonna do that, I might as well go. Vanity, XP Siphon. XP can be Unchained. Actually not bad. These I need to make sure I set up right. Yep, Vanity, XP Siphon, deactivate it. XP. In this case, I'll switch out the kinetic reclaimer for fine. Fire resonator is also fine. That's pretty much it. Okay, let's see if we can reach level 20 and master.
Where there's smoke, there's me.
All right. You used to be able to block things off right here. Made it so that you couldn't anymore. I'm not sure why. If you block here, enemies sometimes be able to walk around this. But this works too.
That trap goes on the wall.
I like it. Like making a campfire.
All of these traps are super cheap.
There. Perfection. This will hurt. Perfection.
Yeah, I could just.
Perfection. No. Another surprise.
The enemy has opened a minion portal.
The legendary dice colors on this actually look pretty good. I like the blue and gold. Although it almost looks like the wreath that she has in her hair is like skulls. Though it is flowers, it's really hard to see.
Howdy, y'all.
Alright, level 2.
Beware, intruder.
I'm irresistible and resistant. This will hurt.
They will not
Another
reach the
surprise.
rift.
There.
Get going.
I don't really need Phoenix Heart.
More firepower.
They will not pass. Leave this place. You do not belong here. I guard the rift.
Watch out! An unstable rift is opening. Get to it and
No
destroy it.
trespass. Intruder.
This one.
We have destroyed the unstable rift.
I just keep getting better. This'll teach them.
Alright, I guess I should actually put some damage
I
down
quit
here.
my post only when properly relieved.
I like it. This will
I
hurt.
protect.
I like it. I like it. Perfection.
The rift will be protected.
Another surprise.
Didn't bring any ceiling traps. Should have. Could have used the Dragon Lance or a Ballista, but that's
Fire
fine.
in the void.
Our enemies, they're breaking through again!
Core of the soul as the core of the earth. No one can possibly stand against me now.
Alright, there's some noises going on outside.
This will hurt. Don't worry, this should stop them. There. And now my love consumes me.
Yeah, Smolder definitely doesn't need to be any more tanky. Like, you really don't want to stay close with her at all. You just want to run through things. They will score a few hits on you, but even if you do manage to die, then you'll just come back and explode and deal even more damage.
Perfection.
Pretty much all we need here. Like, if Smolder was any tankier, her passive ability would have to change.
I am literally on fire.
Yep, that's what we want. Now we're always on fire.
You aren't afraid yet. You should be. Perfection. This will hurt. I like it.
The boss minion has entered the battlefield.
This should stop them. Like making a campfire. I like it.
Our traps are being disabled.
Hey, yeah.
The enemy is disabling our traps. Boss defeated.
Okay, we don't really need these 5 anymore.
I am amazing.
I think those guys up there are gonna die automatically. I shouldn't have to do anything. Here we go.
No trespassing.
There.
Drop these here.
Watch out! Our enemies have broken through again.
This will hurt.
New to this game, so how did you just run through them and melt them so quickly? Also, why wait till last second to put a guardian down? Usually I decide whether or not I want to play with the guardians. Guardians draw additional fire from ranged enemies, and sometimes that makes them not worth putting down because they'll run differently through traps. What else do we want? Actually, close this. Block this off too.
There.
That's too close.
Like making a campfire. I like it. Perfection.
Our barricades are under attack.
And as far as the running through them and all of them getting melted, that's pretty much what Smolder does. Okay, no ceiling traps. I really could have done really well with some ceiling traps. Either some I was getting. I mean, they can just run in. They're really worth nothing but coin. We're leveling a bit too much though. And one last gate to worry about.
Like making a campfire. Like making a campfire.
Howdy, y'all.
The enemy army is attacking on another front.
I quit my post only for proper
There.
defense.
I like it. I like it.
I guard the rift.
Don't worry. This should stop them. There.
Who disturbs my watch?
Perfection.
Our barricades are under attack.
Whoa. And
Destroyed our barricades.
I had a feeling I was gonna do that. I was like, I hope I don't overjump this. Right into the water. I was gonna say, for the most part, I'm using the Guardians as bait in this setup. The Guardians aren't really necessary to deal damage. You can deal all of that damage with just the fire traps, but it holds them there. That barricade wasn't even needed. Ooh.
Our barricades are under attack.
That one's kind of important though, so. That guy died, good. And cheap brimstones are so much easier to use. This is what they blew up.
Another surprise. There.
Fire traps just dump DPS? Both. Fire traps deal damage to an enemy over time. The enemy just has to literally be tagged by the fire, and then over the duration of the burn dot, damage over time effect, they will take the full damage. Smolder essentially does the same thing, except all of Smolder's abilities can be stacked individually, so you can hit them with the burn from Heart of the Phoenix. You can additionally cause a damage over time effect with her primary attack. Her right click also does a separate damage over time effect, and if you're really quick with it, you can get all of them triggered at the same time. So usually that's kind of overkill. Ultimately, you just want to get everything on fire and then ignite them.
Burninate. Burninate.
The boss minion has been taken down.
But fire traps are relatively easy to use. The important thing is just making sure that you can manage your coin. So in my case, I guess that's not really that big of an issue.
Unstable rift is open.
We are actually almost at max battle level. I'm kind of surprised about that. Don't even need to touch it.
Well done. The unstable
If I was
rift
moving
is
any faster, I probably would have fallen into the water again.
If you aren't afraid yet,
Our barricades are under attack.
That's good.
Our barricades are under attack. Final wave.
Wow.
Our barricades are under attack. They've destroyed our barricades.
More barricades up north.
more
No?
firepower.
The secondary one next to the first guardian I placed. Whoa. Too fast for my own good. Yep, explosive archers literally just blow that guy up for no reason. Kind of forces you to babysit that lane. Otherwise, the traps will just do everything for you. This lane literally only has a chance of enemies getting through if they're large or have some sort of HP regen, so only ogres and trolls have a chance of making it through there without just being dead. If I had some ballistas, probably a trap that I should have made sure I included for Shark Island specifically, probably just toss them up top. I mean, like the essential part of just like level cheesing with Smolder. Oh, I guess they changed Smolder's dance too. The essential part of the level cheesing with Smolder is just like that zero cost naphtha trap with the XP siphon and the vanity plating. You know, because it's free and you can spam all 6 of them early at no coin cost. But the rest of it is just pretty much icing on the cake. You can do that with anybody, although not sure if it'll be quite as strong. Most of that was actually trap damage, even though like it looked like Smolder was doing a lot. But yeah, that's going to be it for now. I gotta get ready for another stream that I'll be starting up in probably an hour or so with Omega Nitro. He's gonna be streaming over on Twitch. I'll probably be streaming it over here on YouTube for Borderlands 2. We're gonna be going in through Ultimate Vault Hunter mode. If you guys feel free, you can join us then. Feel free to drop a subscribe if you guys want to see more stuff that I'll be doing on the channel, whether it be the Orcs videos that I'm putting out or the just general stuff that I'm doing. As always, thank you guys for tuning into the stream. I sincerely appreciate it. I hope you guys are having a good weekend so far. I hope it continues to be great. And as always, take care of yourselves. Until next time, have a good one, folks.